Hi everyone, welcome again to another episode of Cross-Examination. As you might have noticed by the title, we are taking a little break from our Seven Sacrament series to focus on the season. 'Tis the season is upon us, so we decided to record 2 episodes for the month of December, which one will be this episode around Advent, and the second episode will be around Christmas. We will also take an extra week break in between the 2 episodes. So again, Advent will be today, Monday, and then the next Christmas episode will release in 2 weeks' time. Now, here's my ask to everyone listening. We've had already some great listener mail coming in and some questions, some stories. We would like to put it to Father Sjaak on the Christmas episodes, have a little section around your questions, your comments, your suggestions, to put it to Father Sjaak to add to the Christmas episode to make it a little bit more special in this festive season. Having said that, I hope you enjoyed this episode around Advent, and we'll talk to you next episode. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome again to another episode of Cross-Examination. A little bit of a break from the Seven Sacrament series. 'Tis the season, right? December is upon us, so I think it was time to maybe talk a little bit about Advent today.
Very nice. Good morning, William. Nice to see you, and also dear listeners. Wonderful to have you with us and see all these reactions that are coming in from different parts of the world. My goodness. So, yes, Advent, it is upon us.
It is upon us, and so we will do, for December, we'll probably dial it back down a little bit. Everybody's taking it easy in December, so we'll do one episode on Advent, and then we'll do another episode on Christmas. But before we get into Christmas, let's start with Advent. Father Sjaak, Advent. What is Advent?
Yes, what is it? The word Advent comes from Adventus.
The coming.
It means, arrival, coming, and it's also adventure. It's an event. You're preparing for a big event. We celebrate 4 weeks of Advent, so hence the 4 candles on the Advent wreath. Now, many cultures have given different significances to these 4 candles, but we say that Christ is born in time and in space, so in north, south, east, and west, and also in summer, winter, and the 4 seasons. So that is the universal, after Christ the King, the significance of Christ's birth in time and space. The 4 candles are in a period that we wear purple. Darkness always precedes the light, so Advent purple before Christmas, white, and Lent purple before Easter, white. But
there's also pink, right, in the candle?
There is one Advent pink candle, yes. Gaudete, and it's Laetare. You also have in Advent is also pink. So when the feast is really close, you are already filled with the light that is coming towards you. So it anticipates the light that is coming. So it's Gaudete, Laetare. They are both words that signify joy. So on the 3rd Advent, then, and I believe on the 4th Lenten Sunday or the 5th, I'm not quite sure. But you have that pink, and it is somehow the darkness is already fading because the light is coming through.
But the colors, and so you alluded to it, that the 4 different candles have 4 different colors, but it's also very cultural dependent.
Well, they have the colors. It has more to do with the color of the vestments during Advent, the liturgical color. So in some countries they use red candles, in other countries white, and in other countries, it doesn't really matter. But what matters are these 4 weeks before Christmas, or the 4 Sundays before Christmas, you light a candle on the Advent wreath. And where does the Advent wreath come from? Of course, the round is the circle of life. It's green, it's everlasting, it continues. And they say that before Christian times, people were afraid of the darkness. Christmas was placed on the shortest day of the year. So we chose the 25th of December, because it's the day with the shortest daylight in the northern hemisphere. Of course, in the tropics, when I worked in Brazil, it was the height of summer, and it's a complete sing of "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas." It's absolutely ludicrous, but anyway, it's in the northern hemisphere was the liturgical year set up, so the seasons accompany this hemisphere. And before Christian times, they said the people, of course, at Halloween, during autumn, they were afraid of the storms, of the wind, of the rain, of the darkness, and of course, in their homes that were poorly built from mud and touch grass roofs, and they were afraid of freezing, of leakages, of sickness and darkness, and so they would climb up the mountain and throw down balls of fire to symbolize the return of the sun. So when they came down the mountain, it was like as if the sun would come
Like
back.
a dangerous hobby, to be honest.
A dangerous hobby, yes, and whether it's actually true or not, God knows. Well, God only knows. But anyway, that idea of the light growing during these 4 weeks, and the fire warming us and lighting us up is coming back. And now, of course, you see that Advent is completely taken over by the commercialism of Christmas. It's Black Friday and God knows what. So the times of pregnancy and expectation and waiting with your Christmas tree until Advent is over, we have the baby and the Christmas already in October already, of course. So that whole idea of expectancy, and the less Christ is present in society, the more Christmas we want. It's an amazing.
That's an interesting.
Yeah, people are looking for connections, for having quality time together, for doing something good. And
so how do you balance that? That contrast of basically the Advent, the period is about preparing for the coming of Jesus Christ, and have the anticipation, the calmness that comes with it, So how do you balance that with the consumerism of it all, and go crazy on deals and buy presents, and everybody needs presents, and how do you balance it? As do you ignore completely consumerism aspect of it? How do you handle it?
No, I'm also a child of this day and age, of course. But it's funny, I mean, when you go to the German Christmas markets, the Advent calendar is still very prominent, and it has to do with, okay, every day from Advent, you open a door on the calendar, and it tells you something about the story of the coming of Christ. But now you see rituals. They have wellness calendars, so they have a bar of soap or a perfume or God knows what in these Advent calendars. You see quite a few of these calendars now.
All the chocolate brands have their calendars.
All the chocolate brands and all that. So it has been completely commercialized. But I think there's also an opportunity for us, because when you have royal winter feasts and no more happy Christmas, but happy holidays, we can put Christ back into Christmas somehow. I mean, when you lose the story, you also lose the reason for the season. And I think especially among younger people, they want to go beyond the superficial, because the more you fill Christmas with too much food, too many parties, too many decorations, it becomes bling bling. And as Robbie Williams sang in the Millennium song, an overdose of Christmas, I give it up for Lent, I thought was a fantastic. I mean, we get so saturated with Christmas. It's the time of pregnancy before the baby comes is a beautiful time. It's for a couple, of course, a time of tremendous joy, but also a bit of fear, because what's it going to be like? A bit of anxiety, and at the same time preparation. You get the room ready, you get everything ready. We, on the third Sunday of Advent, always bless pregnant couples for the fruit of their womb. And it's also quite often in the community a moment to share the joy. Wow, I'm pregnant. And the baby is due in May or in June or God knows what. So, and then we ask the father to bless the womb of the mother. So it's their baby. They bless each other. They have blessed each other with that life. And that somehow to gain the more deeper meaning back during Advent, It's a beautiful challenge in the secular world.
Mm.
And also I get asked for all kinds of talks at the Christmas dinners and parties and institutions. And they want something about connections, about norms and values and all that, but not necessarily religion. And yet they ask a priest to do it. So I have an opportunity there to say, if you throw the baby out with the bathwater, then what does connect you still?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I was never expecting you to quote Robbie Williams in this podcast ever. But that's true. It is. But we'll come back on the fasting aspect of Christmas. But just as you explained it is somehow the consumerism and the commercialization of Christmas, has it somehow been also a blessing for Catholicism in general, that it has stayed relevant through commercialization, that there is this given moment every year where you will gravitate maybe back towards more secular audiences or whatever it is. Do you understand my question?
Yes, and I think you're absolutely right. It's the biggest birthday party on earth. Yes, worldwide.
Yeah.
Even in Dubai, they have big Christmas trees. It is not a Christian city, but yes.
But is it still celebrated as a birthday party?
Well, it's up to us
Fair
to
enough.
share the story about the reason for the season. And because the secular world makes it so big, it is also an opportunity for people to meet each other in the doing of good, for charity, for businesses looking at their end-of-year bonus, not only for their employees, but quite a few businesses also do a project or a community service or God knows what. So, yes, if it's done in the name of Christ, great. If not, then we meet each other in the doing of good. So I think that the Christmas season that has gained so much secular momentum. It's the same with Valentine's Day and Animal Day. They are huge days. I think for us, Halloween as well, a beautiful moment to reconnect with its roots and the deeper meaning of this. So, and I think as Christians, you have to make a choice somehow where your joy comes from. Less is more, or kill yourself with too many things that make you in the end completely saturated with stuff that you don't need.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, and yesterday we had Thanksgiving Day for the Americans. For many Americans, that is the beginning of the festive season.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, today is Black Friday, so everybody goes mad and running after good deals.
Including yours truly, I'll confess.
Really? No, I haven't. Well, perhaps they said if you buy 2 toothpastes, you get 3 free. I mean, that sort of level, yes. But I don't need much else.
If I would come home with toothpaste for my wife as a Christmas present, I think it'll be a very short conversation.
It's not a Christmas present. It's purely something practical. But yeah, I think Thanksgiving in itself is something fantastic. It's a beautiful feast where you are actually grateful for the goods of the earth, the work of human hands, and sit down together with a meal without all the consumerism, but simply a day of quality time, cooking, eating, spending time together. And that this season, in that sense, we need it.
Maybe a strange question, but I also can't help but think about Jesus Christ and, according to the gospel and the Bible, him going into the temple of his father and kicking over the stands because, it was all about consumerism and money, etc. So if he were here today, and what would he make of it all? Because the message, again, it's so relevant. Like you said, it's the biggest birthday party in the world. It tends to bring out the good in people and remind ourselves, but it is all wrapped up in this massive consumerism fluff. So I really wonder what he would make of it.
When Christ sees what we do in his name, I think he would laugh and scream at the same time, So, of course, we always think that Christ founded the church as we know it. But he never had an institution in mind like
it was a movement.
The Roman Catholic Church, of course. So we have made it into so many things. And of course, when I'm sure when he looks at us from wherever he is and sees what we oblige people to do, or what we ask people to do in his name, he would say, "Come on, guys, loosen up." It's and go back to to the real deeper meaning in terms of that I think I always go back to the same love your neighbor as yourself. And in that, you show the authenticity of your love for God. And the reason for that commandment is it's not an obligation, but that your love may be in each other and therefore your joy complete. So without that gesture of love, you deprive yourself of joy. Yeah? And it is a selfish joy, or a selfless joy, rather. It's not a self-directed joy. It's a generous joy. Because love, is not measured in the quantity of gifts or in the quantity of big rituals, but in the authenticity. That's where our creed, I think, the authenticity of our faith comes from.
You mentioned Creed by accident. It is the 700, what is it, birthday of the, no, way more, 1700 birthday of the Nicene Creed.
This weekend, the Pope goes to Turkey to celebrate 1700 years of the Nicene Creed. So he will go and visit that place. And of course, in Holland, we also celebrate Sinterklaas, Saint Nicholas, who was the Bishop of Myra, also based in present-day Turkey. So, and legend has it that Saint Nicholas went to the Council of Nicaea.
Had a bit of a fisticuff as well, right?
And
according to legends.
Legend has it, whether he was actually at the council or not, but there was some 200 bishops and he was from the area, so he could have been among them. But he was so passionate about defending the divinity of Christ during that council. That council happened in May, by the way, so we are a little bit late in celebrating it. But that he punched Arius in the face because Arius didn't believe that Jesus was the creation of God. Yeah, sure. So anyway, because we have no literal proof of that event, we'll stick with Sinterklaas being a man of the children.
Little tangent around about the creed. But back to Advent. 4 candles. You mentioned some of the key words. First candle is about hope. Second candle about peace. Third candle joy, and the fourth love. That is in this or some parts of the world one interpretation.
Okay.
What would be yours? If you'd have to name or in any way, shape, or form categorize those 4 candles, what would they represent for you?
Yeah, well, I think probably something different every year. It depends very much on the historical context in which you light these candles. It's the same when you put your Christmas decorations on the tree. A lot of these decorations have memories, and also, when people are sick or something significant happened during the year, you are happy that you are still standing at Christmas and somehow that you're still there with your loved ones or you miss someone. So I think these candles for me this year, the situation in Gaza and Ukraine is unbelievable. And the fact that we are still in this mess, and yes, there are peace plans, but of course in Gaza.
But there's also Sudan, there's Nigeria, there's so many places where there's terrible things happening.
As for the release of 315 hostages that are still held captive in Nigeria from the Catholic school. Yes,
it's terrible.
Priests, teachers, and students. So I think Christ is born in the historical context every year in which we live. So these candles for me are not just hope and peace, and it makes it all very woolly and very sort of but the elephant in the room is, okay, this year it is for this specific thing that is in darkness and that needs light. So despite all the peace plan efforts of good people who are trying to resolve these conflicts, but we all know that in Gaza, 5 generations of people will be affected by what has happened today. I mean, the hatred is still implanted in the hearts of so many people that will not end. So the healing, the compensation, the restoration of so many lives still has to happen. So yeah, Advent 2025 also from yesterday with this pilgrimage of hope, this holy year, what actually gave us hope. We were here together last Tuesday with the pastoral council, and we had the group coordinators from all our groups in the parish together, and a few posters of things that happened during this year. And I asked people, what are you actually grateful for? You know, when you look back at this pastoral year, what were for you the highlights during this year that actually signified somehow hope during this holy year? And these things are very personal for people, you know. Somebody mentioned the funeral of an 18-year-old girl who died, and the sense of community around that loss and family, and that tremendous tragedy was somehow what community is all about. That is what it needs to be. So Advent, if we want to make it relevant and significant, I think you light these 4 candles within your own life and historical context, looking back and looking forward at what is in this day and age for you in your personal life. Christmas, it's like Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for this year? You know,
I think it's a nice maybe exercise even for families or people listening in, is to have a moment, I guess, to think about what these 4 candles might mean for you personally. Because yes, there's the big geopolitical things, but there's also things happening in people's lives.
Absolutely.
Disease, births, whatever it is. So it's a nice one. So you assign really a mix of very personal meaning plus looking at geopolitical, for lack of a better word, kind of things. And
well, this year, I mean, our first Advent candle that we light is the Turkish ambassador comes to Mass. So she's a Muslim. The Islam, of course, originated quite a few centuries after the Council of Nicaea. But she says, yes, I am coming to celebrate this fact with you. There is only one God, and we look at faith and our creeds from different perspectives. But that is only there to show that the presence of God is reflected in so many different ways. And we do it because we do not own the truth. Everybody has a certain version and a certain identity that based on the truth. But the truth owns us. We stand in the truth. The truth is much bigger than our own version of faith, of God, of religion. So if a creed is for anything at all, I think we say there is one God. And it's nice. Her presence is very symbolic, I think.
How do you weave the Advent into your masses on Sunday, if not sermons? Do you take that approach of, there's 4 candles, maybe those 4 weeks, I will focus on, this or that in your masses, in your officiating the masses?
We have, at the beginning of Mass, we have children's liturgy. So we always ask the children to come forward, and normally we light 1 candle of the Advent wreath every Sunday with the children. And then we sort of send them out with reflect on this or that. So this Sunday it will be about the first candle is for what do you believe? What are you grateful for? So that idea of if I can make something that I believe in a reason for joy, or make it happen, or I help to make it happen, then I bring light into the world. So you have to translate it for children in a very practical way. But also Sinterklaas is coming to the children's liturgy. So the gift giving, the doing something extra. So in that way, you continue to give meaning to these Advent candles. And the third Sunday of Advent will be for the pregnant parents. And then, are you scared to bring a baby into this world? Or is it actually an opportunity for change? Or, so. I thought Pope Leo said something very significant to the youth during the Holy Year when they were gathered in Rome last month. He said, you are not just the future of the church. You are the presence and the present of the church. And I thought, yes, we always think that the youth is the future of the church, but no, the youth are here and now.
They're here today, yeah.
Give them a voice and use them not as a future voice or a future weight in giving their opinion, but no, include them in the here and now and in your strategy and your opinion making and your exercise also of your faith.
Just to go briefly back around the origins of Advent, I believe that it kind of originated as a time of penance and fasting, right? In preparation for the Epiphany, which was January 6th. Obviously, we touched on the commercialization and the food. That seems to have gone completely out of the window. Obviously, we do have, leading up to Easter, we do have fasting, etc. But why has that shift happened? Was it a very conscious shift? What's your interpretation of that?
Honestly, I never grew up with the idea of fasting during Advent. So I know you are absolutely right that idea existed in the church. But in Holland, in my own childhood, or never saw that. I didn't see it when I was in Africa. I didn't see it when I was in Brazil. I mean, on the contrary. So if there is an idea of fasting and before the feast, so less is more, and then you enjoy it. It's the same as you hold back a little before you let yourself go. I can see the motive and the reason for it, and I also know that the Vatican wants to reintroduce at least a day of fasting.
Okay, I wasn't aware of it. During the Advent, or
during Advent, yes.
One day.
Pope Leo did mention something about it. I saw it somewhere, and I think in itself it would be a good statement to actually do it for a cause in solidarity. I mean, last week we had a Red Wednesday. We lit up all the churches with red spotlights.
Ours looked amazing, by the way, in that news article.
Ours, we had 200 houses of worship in Holland lit up. And also, for the first time, the European Parliament in Brussels joined the campaign, which was amazing. And the campaign was to show through the color of red the blood of all the persecuted people from different denominations for their faith. So I think if there is a day of fasting during this Advent, it would actually be good to sort of, as an act of solidarity for all those people who are persecuted for their faith, because half of the world population still lives in countries where they cannot, in freedom, break bread together or celebrate their faith together. They are still discriminated in one way or another for having a certain faith. So I absolutely see the purpose and the meaning of that.
And the value.
Value, sure. There is also a nice way in the liturgy, during these times of darkness, we hold back a little bit with our joy in the liturgy. Normally, the Gloria is a very joyful hymn of praise, of course, and the Alleluia is a very joyful acclamation. So during Lent, you don't sing Gloria or Alleluia. So you reserve that for Easter. But for Advent, you skip the Gloria. So that comes back with Christmas. So during these 4 weeks, we do not sing the Gloria. But
so there's still faint traces
of... Yes, but we do sing Hallelujah. So we can fast, but not so much.
So look, again, the cynical view, is it the Amazons of this world and again, the consumerism that basically took over in the sense like, look, it's a festive season. So why are we fasting and why are we, let's celebrate, and with celebrations, come food and presents and, look, we're both smiling at the idea of celebrations and food and presents.
Yes.
But yeah, there needs to be darkness to have light, right? I think it's kind of.
Well, the thing is that, Sinterklaas already has all the food, the speculaas and the paper note in the shops in October. And then by the time Sinterklaas comes, we're sick of it. Christmas, we start far too early with our illuminations and with our shops and all that. So
You're talking Holland in particular, or globally?
In England, in Latin America as well, and every airport.
Because this country is slightly different, right? Because again, for listeners who are not familiar with the Dutch culture, arguably Sinterklaas is bigger than Christmas, and I can't think of many countries where one saint basically outsaints, Father Nick, or Christ the King, but. So yeah, it's slightly different here, where again most families would celebrate Saint Nicholas in bigger ways than Christmas.
Yes. This year we go to 3 refugee shelters. So these teenagers, they have no idea who Saint Nicholas is, of course, because they came from Eritrea, Syria, Iraq, and they've never seen anything like it. But of course, when the story is told, they love the presents, they love the sweaters and the socks and God knows what they get in this cold, wet weather. But yes, it's a big thing. And also, next Saturday, we have the refugees here in our own church, the children that are part of our refugee program. So indeed, Sinterklaas, we don't have Father Christmas here in Holland. That's or in Spain, they have the 3 kings that come bearing gifts. So the gift giving for children is done at the beginning of December, so during Advent, and that also is one of the reasons that the whole Advent idea of fasting, of course, doesn't really happen, because the whole month is a festive month.
You mentioned at the very beginning different cultures have different ways, with regards to Advent. I did a bit of research, and there are indeed some really fascinating kind of practices and traditions. One that kind of stood out, or 2 that stood out in their similarity, was in Mexico and the Philippines. So in the Philippines, it's something called Simbang Gabi, and basically they have an early morning mass in the Philippines every day that starts on December 16th. Something similar in Mexico, Las Posadas, where again there is a process through the streets. There people are dressed as Mary and Joseph, but it's also a celebration that starts on December 16th. Is there a meaning behind the 9 days from December 16th and 25th? If so, what is the meaning behind that?
For big feast days, the church has novenas, these 9 days of prayer. We also have them between Ascension and Pentecost, for instance.
True.
So 9 days is quite often for people a little bit of a liturgical marathon. They make a promise to keep these 9 days, and they give it a certain intention. And so either leading up to a big feast, or for a personal promise that they have made, an act of gratitude or an act of petition. So yes, I know that in the Philippines it's so busy that even traffic needs to be regulated, because so many people go to these morning masses. And in a naughty way, but I'm glad I'm a priest in this side of the world, because it's already a very busy season. Imagine having to get up for mass every morning, 9 days before Christmas, and do it 6 o'clock in the morning before people go to work.
But wouldn't that, discipline of going 9 days in a row lead to more introspection and gratitude, and maybe the things that we're lacking a little bit here?
Yes, it could well be. I hope so. But it also sounds to be a little bit of an obligation, and by the time Christmas comes, you're exhausted. So anyway, these spiritual exercises, if people do it for the right reason, it's with everything in life, then they get something out of it. If it becomes a routine, an obligation, then it can be counterproductive as well. It's a little bit like confession in the past, often forced Catholic school children to go to confession once every so often, and they really had to ask each other, "Well, what sin can you invent for the priest this month?"
I vividly remember that being at the
So
Josephites
it is a
College.
bit, what is the deeper meaning when you have these practices? And once you overdo it, it's very difficult to put the deeper meaning back into it, because people have bad memories of these obligations, So I can see it's tremendously fruitful and helpful, but not out of obligation.
It can be counterproductive if it's too mandatory to.
Anyway, we don't have that practice here. I've never grown up with it either, and in Latin America also I've not seen it myself, but I do know of the Philippines and these things as well. But
what have you seen in, for example, Brazil, where you lived a good while? What do they do differently in the lead up to Christmas?
Well, in fact, I was in quite a violent area, so we were discouraged from doing anything at night because it was too dangerous there were street gangs, and there was a lot of drug traffic, and we had in the early years that I was in Brazil, that was still the dictatorship.
And we're talking about the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
86 till 92.
Right.
We had dictatorship there, and there were quite a few children. I mean, every week we had a funeral of a street child that was a victim of a lost bullet.
Stray bullets,
fire guns up in the air, and these bullets come down, and they actually kill kids at random. And now it has improved an awful lot. But I remember Advent and Christmas, where people get very drunk and very beside themselves because they have an end of year bonus or a little bit more money, or it's a festive season. That it was also quite a dangerous season. So we always kind of, during the day,
because of the excesses that come with it.
Yes. During the day we had our services, but we avoided a midnight mass or anything like that, because it was just that has of course now completely changed. I mean, the Brazil is in a totally different world now. But from my early priesthood years, Advent, and of course, to me, it made little sense to see a Father Christmas dress up in such a hot country with a beard and a fur coat and all that.
As you know, I just came back from Australia, where they were starting to put up Christmas decorations in 30-degree heat. It makes zero sense. But that's more down to me than our experiences here.
But the Christmas itself is a huge thing in as it is here. But in Brazil, they really do celebrate the birth of Christ in a very spiritual way. I was very moved by that.
Could you elaborate on what would you mean in a very spiritual way? How is it different? How do they do it differently than here?
Well,
was the feeling different?
The whole personal relationship with Christ is so much part of people's lives, of society, if you see the tremendous processions on Good Friday during Holy Week in the Portuguese, in the Spanish-speaking world, it's huge. So culturally, but also the acting out of the passion story, of the Christmas story, with actors and with live nativity scenes, and people really get into the skin of Christ, and Christ gets into their skin as well, which is and it's completely natural. It's not a fake thing, or it's more than just, well, let's do a passion play. It's an act of faith as well. And it is very moving and beautiful to see that people who are crucified because life is tough, they also need liberation from that cross. They need resurrection, and it's one way of showing that Christ is with them to overcome their political challenges, their financial challenges. He pulls people out of their hell, their difficulty, their crisis. and they very much need these moments to show that there is more than this existence. There is also something better to aspire to and to strive for. So it comes with poverty, but also with the tremendous faith of people. The religare, the community sense, the spirit that brings them together.
I said this is probably a topic for an entire other episode, but the correlation, if there is, between poverty and I guess fervent, or how fervent or how religious people are, because I think there is something to be said for the better a country does economically, financially, the more people abandon the church. I'm sure there's some studies out there, but again, I think that's a very dense topic that maybe we can talk about at a different time. I know you're not one to tell people what to do or how to do anything, but we touched on the 4 candles that you can attribute personal meaning to it. I think it's a great, worthwhile exercise to do. Any other tips or suggestions for people to do or think, or maybe create a habit in the lead up to Christmas? Something that, to give up or whatever. What do you do something different in the lead up to Christmas?
Well, I am so stretched and so busy with all sorts of commitments outside of the parish and inside of the parish that I feel I'm doing an awful lot extra, and I have no time to do anything less.
So you're setting the wrong example, is what I'm hearing.
Well, not really. I am being lived, and then somehow I need to believe in the title of one of my books, The Power of No, and say no. You create actually some time for quiet, for silence. So that's my challenge, because there are a lot of expectations, and I think a lot of my colleagues around the world will have the same feeling, that in order to please everybody, we run from one commitment to another. And a lot of organizations outside of the parish also want to do something meaningful around Christmas. And you always kind of feel, okay, I am here and now it's an opportunity, so let's reach out to these people. But it's hospital calls, it's the communion to the sick, it's something for the elderly, it's something for the refugees, it's something for embassies, it's something for non-believers who still want to have happy holidays when do Hanukkah and everything together, and then you are the Christian player in this multi-religious or non-religious event. Thanksgiving Day, it's just one thing after the other. So my challenge is nothing. A day of silence and a day away. And I still have to schedule that one, actually. But this year also, it depends very much. And again, I hear this from a lot of colleagues as well. When Christmas falls in the middle of the week, for us, it's the worst possible Christmas, of course, because you have Sunday, and then, Tuesday is Christmas Eve, Wednesday is Christmas Day, Thursday is Boxing Day, hallelujah, Saturday is either for baptisms or whatever, and then Sunday is Sunday, and then the New Year is the same. So you are in church, let's say, the whole week.
The work never stops.
And also, it's totally not a complaint, but it's simply a reality check, So when do you take time out? Only after Christmas, when and after the New Year Epiphany, when you say, now I need some time out. It is the same with Holy Week. A lot of priests after Easter, they take some days off to just
decompress,
take a breather. Absolutely. Because at the times that you need to be there for your people, you need to be there for your people. And that's it. And that means, you put your own spiritual needs in second place. And
So I think the key word here is find some time to find some peace and quiet, stillness. Father Sjaak, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom and personal experiences about Advent leading up to Christmas. Next episode, Christmas. How are we going to talk about Christmas? Any suggestions? Do we focus on Christ the King himself and his message? Do we do a lead up? We can have a think about it, but any suggestions already?
Yes, Christmas, the whole idea of Christ still, after 2,000 years, making an impact, and the christening of people, the word Christ Mass, somehow stood the test of time, and it's still happening. And it's in spite of everything that has gone wrong. I mean, abuse and scandals. We had a Reformation. We had times of complete irrelevance of the church, because the church was far too occupied with power and territories and wealth and splendor, and lost its spiritual content. And here we are, still doing it. So it's good to focus a little bit on what makes it still relevant to us, and why do we do this still in memory of Christ?
That is a nice challenge for me to come up with talk track of questions. But
Yes.
I happily take the challenge. I was kind of looking as well as maybe as looking at Jesus Christ as a refugee, which is essentially was, right? I think it's very relevant in today's, you mentioned the various wars. I think it's a really great way to look at the problem we have today of refugees through the story of Jesus Christ, who fled as a refugee to Egypt and then came back, etc. So maybe we'll do a sprinkling of that as well. But having said that,
I think William, for Advent still, let's also look at the two main key players of Advent. John the Baptist, who says, "Prepare the way of the Lord," and a close ally of Christ, but he says, the one who comes after me is greater than I am.
And cousin, right? I think this cousin,
baptized Christ. But also, lived in a way so he diminished himself in order to let Christ grow. I think that's quite a nice Advent symbolism. And Mary, the pregnancy of Mary was an illegitimate pregnancy, of course. So for a Jewish woman to have to flee from condemnation and from shaming and all the blaming of people in her culture and tradition, and go to her aunt to escape, that judgment. And still put herself under these circumstances. She didn't really know what happened to her as a young girl. For her to accept the service of, okay, I put myself at the service of the Lord, I am here to do your will, and accept the consequences of that. And then Joseph saying, okay, I mean, I love you. I don't know how to accompany all this and how all this came about, but I will stick with you. And we will face the music in the streets when the child is born, So that idea of no matter what, and the reasons for it to happen, you stick with it.
Keep the hope.
And you accept the consequences of certain choices and the challenges that are a result of you believing to do the good thing. I think Mary and John the Baptist are the great figures of Advent. And Christmas has other great figures, like shepherds and kings, and who changed their roles. And it's good to focus on the figures in the crib and the whole nativity scene, and how we can identify with them at this particular moment. The refugee status, the situation in the world is not much different from so many children looking to belong and for a place in society. So yes, Christmas is coming. So therefore, let's focus on giving people a home.
I just wanted to maybe wrap up and finish. I think Father Sjaak alluded to it at the very beginning. We had some really nice listeners get into touch with us with one heartwarming story, heartfelt story, more like from Nina out of Houston, based out of Houston. What I'm getting at is, and we have also some other great feedback from Valentine, for example. Other people as well get in touch. I guess what I'm trying to call you, listener, to is send us questions, send us comments, send us your suggestions. I'd love to also add a little Q&A session at the Christmas. I think we have now enough questions maybe to, pepper Father Sjaak with some really tough questions from our listeners. So don't hold back. Comment on Instagram, on Facebook. We'll also onboard a fellow parishioner who's really specialized in social media and video content, etc. So we're looking to enrich that aspect of it as well. So in advance, Christian, thank you for helping us out with that. So keep an eye on your socials, like, subscribe, share, all of that jazz. Father Sjaak, thank you for today.
Thank you, and I wish everybody a wonderful time of pregnancy. And look forward to the baby.
We'll talk to you next time about Christmas. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.